Have you ever wondered how a single cell structure transforms into a complex human being with over 37 trillion cells? What incredible processes unfold within the womb? Human development inside the womb, spanning approximately 40 weeks, is a remarkable journey of transformation. From conception to birth, the fertilized egg undergoes rapid cell division, differentiation, and growth, evolving into a complex, fully formed individual.
Everyone, particularly to our Professor Dr. Elvina R. Alivio, PhD. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Everyone, this is Rashim Asaadin Nasaluddin, a first year BSc English student from the English Language Department. And welcome to this video report presentation on the course Child and Adolescent Learners and Learning Principles. Okay, for today's video report presentation, we will be discussing the synthesis of the physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional development during the prenatal period. In prenatal period, it is a fascinating phase where the physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional development are intricately woven together, forming the foundation of human life.
Okay, before we will be discussing the complex interplay among these three domains or aspects, let's have first to discuss the development in each aspect. We have the physical development, cognitive development, and socio-emotional development. Okay, let's begin first with the physical development. In physical development, it has been categorized into three stages. We have the germinal stage, embryonic stage, and the fetal stage. Okay, as I was questioning earlier, that have you ever wondered how a single cell structure transforms into a complex human being? And it all starts with the germinal stage. In germinal stage, it is the early stage of the physical development, which is the formation of the zygote as a result of the conception when the egg and the sperm merge together, so forming the zygote. So during the first week after the conception, the zygote will then undergo the process of the mitosis, which is the process in which the zygote divides and multiplies itself from one single structure to 2 cells, then 4 cells, then 8 cells, and so on. And as the cells divide, they become more specialized, forming different organs and body parts. In the germinal stage, the mass of the cell has yet to attach itself in the lining of the mother's uterus. And once it does, the next stage begins, which is the embryonic stage. Embryonic stage, which is about 3 to 8 weeks. After the zygote divides for about 7 to 10 days, it travels down the fallopian tubes and implants itself in the lining of the mother's uterus. Upon implantation, this multicellular organism is called an embryo. So once it forms as an embryo, now the blood vessels grow, forming the placenta, which is the connective tissue in the mother's uterus, which provides nourishment or nutrients and oxygen to the developing embryo via the umbilical cord. And during the embryonic stage, the basic structures are gradually start to develop into areas that will become the chest, abdomen, and the head. And also during the embryonic stage, the heartbeat is already detectable, and also the formation of the neutral tube along the back of the embryo, forming the brain and the spinal cord. Now proceed to the final stage of the physical development, which is the fetal stage, which about 9 to 40 weeks. So at about 9 weeks, the embryo rather becomes a fetus, and the fetus is about the size of a kidney bean and begins to take on the recognizable form of a human being. So It is also during this stage that the sex organs begins to differentiate. And at about 16 weeks, the fetus is approximately about 4 feet 5 inches long. The fingers and toes are fully developed and the fingerprints are visible. But it depends on the environment inside of the mother's womb. But normally, the fetus is expected to have this particular development at about this week. And by the time the fetus reaches the 6th month of development, which about 24 weeks, it weighs up about 1.4 pounds. So now the hearing has developed and the fetus now able to respond to the external sounds of the mother's voice, to the external noises. Internal organs such as the lungs, stomach, intestine, and heart have formed enough, and by then 36 weeks, the fetus brain continues to grow and develop. By then 37 weeks, the fetus is ready for birth. And also it continues to gain weight and grow in length until approximately 40 weeks. And by then, the fetus has very little room to move around and the birth becomes imminent until the fetus is born. Now proceed to the cognitive development. So when we say cognitive development, it is definitely expected, which is the development of the brain structures. So under the brain structures, discovers the development of the formation of the neurogenesis and the synaptogenesis. So these two aspects that play major role during the prenatal period. So neurogenesis. Neurogenesis, it is the process of forming new neurons from the neutral stem cells. So let's say, imagine that there are massive number of neurons produced. So this massive number of these billions of neurons are produced or created by the neurogenesis. And after this massive number of neurons are produced, this will be then connected together by the synaptogenesis. So synaptogenesis, which is the process of forming the synapses among the billion of neurons. Okay, so think of it this way. Neurogenesis creates the neurons that will eventually make up the retina, which is the light sensitive tissue at the back of the eye, and also creates the visual cortex, which is the parts of the brain that processes the visual information. And the synaptogenesis will then connect together these neurons and forming the pathways allowing the fetus begins processing the light signals. So those are the major functions of the neurogenesis and the synaptogenesis. In neurogenesis produces the massive number of neurons making up the retina and the visual cortex, and the synaptogenesis will then connect these neurons together, so forming the foundation that allowing the fetus to process the external light signals. And also during the cognitive development, due to the development of these three aspects, the neurogenesis and the synaptogenesis, there is already the development of the sensory experiences. So meaning to say, the fetus during the prenatal period able to experience the sensations such as the sounds of the mother's voices, the heartbeat, and also there is also the development of the prenatal learning. Meaning to say, there is during the prenatal period there is already the development of the memory and the learning. Because there are some studies suggest that the fetus now able to learn and remember mother's sounds, the sounds of the mother's voice. The fetus may already show the preferences for its mother's voice, even after birth, indicating the prenatal learning. And that's the very reason, as you might have noticed, that toddlers, they already identify the sounds of their mother's voices, even they don't see their mother physically. For example, the toddler is left behind inside the house and mother is outside the house, but even the toddler don't see the mother physically, but as they hear the sounds of the mother voices outside the house, they suddenly react, because they already identify the sounds of their mother voices since during the prenatal period, because there is already the development of the prenatal learning during the prenatal period. They already develop the sensory inputs during the prenatal period. Now proceed to the socio-emotional development during the prenatal period. So in socio-emotional development, there is already the development or the formation of the attachment. The bond between the mother and the fetus begins to form. A mother's emotional state during the pregnancy influences the fetus hormonal levels and stress hormones and stress response. So meaning to say, if mother during the pregnancy is being calm and relaxed, the fetus is probably on the same state. See? And also during the socio-emotional development, there is already the development of the sensory input and the emotional regulation. The sensory experiences the fetus receives, the sounds, the movements, contributes to its developing emotional regulation system. Exposure to the stress hormones in the mother during the pregnancy can also affect the fetus stress response later in life. And lastly, there is already the formation of the early social interaction. Although not direct interaction in the way we understand it, but during the prenatal period, the fetus can already respond to the mother's voice and touch. Yes, maybe that's the very reason, as you might have noticed, the newborn babies or the toddlers, they have a stronger chemistry compared to their father, because during the prenatal period, imagine, which is about 40 weeks, which is about 9 months, the fetus inside the womb. So during the 9 months, during the 40 weeks, there is already the early social interaction happens between the mother and the fetus. So that's the very reason when the fetus is born, the newborn babies, the toddlers, they have stronger chemistry with their mother compared to the father. And also, for example, inside the house, there are many people inside the house. For example, there is an aunt, there is the uncle, there is the grandmother, the grandfather. Yes, but as you might have noticed, the newborn babies or the toddlers, there are some majority they suddenly cry when other people try to take them, try to cuddle them. But if once their mother take them and try to cuddle them with their arms, the newborn baby or the toddlers stop crying. Why? Because during the prenatal period, there is already the early social interaction happens between the fetus and the mother. Okay, so those are the development in each aspect or domain. So now we have already discussed the development in each aspect. Now we're going to discuss the complex interplay among these three aspects. How these three aspects, the physical, cognitive, and socio-emotional, influence or shape each other during the prenatal period. Okay, so let's begin first with the physical influence on cognitive development. Okay, as we all know that the brain structures and the functions are directly tied to the physical health. So meaning to say that adequate nutrition is paramount. Deficiencies can lead to impaired brain development, so impacting the cognitive abilities such as attention, learning, and memory. So me also, if mother if mother during the pregnancy exposed to some teratogens or the harmful substances like the alcohol, or if mother smokes, or if does not smoke but exposed to secondhand smoking, certain medications and infections, so this can cause physical abnormalities directly affecting the brain structures and functions, so leading to the cognitive impairments. So that's the very reason there are some child born with some cognitive abnormalities. Are you familiar with the one of the very unusual cognitive abnormalities, which is the hydranencephaly? Yes. So we have here the illustration. We have here the illustration in demonstrating the case of the hydranencephaly. Okay, this is the case. That's the case of the hydranencephaly. So this hydranencephaly, it is a rare birth in which the child is born with massive head, in which the child missing the biggest part of the brain, which is the cerebral hemisphere, and instead of the cerebral hemispheres there are sacs filled with the cerebrospinal fluid. So this is the actually very unusual cognitive abnormality, the hydranencephaly. So this is very fatal within the first year of life. So this actually happens due to the physical condition of the mother during the pregnancy. If mother during the pregnancy do not take proper physical cautions, like exposed to some teratogens or the harmful substances such as I mentioned earlier, like alcohol, smokes, the certain medications, or any toxic chemicals. So there is a possibility that the child have this kind of cognitive impairment or cognitive abnormality, the hydranencephaly. There is a lot of cognitive abnormalities. So meaning to say, the mother during the pregnancy should take a proper physical cautions to positively contribute to the cognitive development of the fetus during the prenatal period. And now proceed to the physical influence on socio-emotional development. So how physical development influences the socio-emotional development during the prenatal period. Okay, while we cannot measure the socio-emotional condition of the fetus during the prenatal period, but it can be observed, but it is observable for later emotional regulation once the fetus is born. Okay, the physical state of the fetus influences its capacity for later emotional regulation. A healthy pregnancy free from stress and complications contributes to a more stable hormonal environment, potentially influencing the development of the pituitary gland and adrenal axis, crucial for stress response. So meaning to say that if mother free from any physical stress or free from any physical health problems, so there is a possibility that the baby is given the healthy hormonal environment inside the womb, and also for later emotional regulation in life. But conversely, maternal stress, illness, or exposure to teratogen, if mother exposed to some physical health problems, or due to the exposure to the teratogen such as the alcohol, smoking, certain medications, illness, so this can disrupt the hormonal balance. So meaning to say leading to difficulties in related to socio-emotional, in related to emotional regulation in life, in later socio-emotional regulation in lives. And that's the very reason, as you might have noticed, there are some newborns, that there are some baby born with some emotional problems, like the heart problem, for example, the baby is born with difficulty breathing, so something like that, because this happens due to physical condition, due to the physical state, due to the unstable physical state of the mother during the pregnancy. Because, for example, if mother during the pregnancy is what do we call this one, is often exposed to emotional shock, so something like that. So tendency the fetus inside the womb is also greatly influenced by the emotional state of the mother. So that's the very reason there are some baby born with some emotional problems. Okay, that's the physical influence on the emotional and the socio-emotional development of the fetus during the prenatal period. And lastly is the socio-emotional influence on physical development. So how socio-emotional development influences the physical development of the fetus during the prenatal period. Okay, the maternal stress and anxiety can have a direct physiological impact on the development of the fetus through hormonal changes. So high stress levels, which is the high stress levels, the cortisol, which is a stress response, a stress hormone, can cross the placenta, negatively affecting the fetus growth and development. So, meaning to say, a stressed environment inside the womb of the mother during the pregnancy can lead to lower birth weight and other physical complications. So that's the very reason there are some baby born physically unhealthy, or any physical complication or any physical health problems, because during the pregnancy the baby is not given a healthy emotional environment. Conversely, if the fetus is given a healthy emotional environment during the pregnancy, so this positively contribute to a healthier and better physical well-being. So that's the socio-emotional influence on physical development. In summary, prenatal development is a holistic process. Physical health is fundamental, directly impacting cognitive and socio-emotional development. Whilst cognitive development less advanced prenatally, its early stages lay the groundwork for future emotional processing and social interaction. The mother's socio-emotional state significantly influenced the fetal environment, impacting both physical and cognitive development. These factors are intricately interwoven, creating a complex and dynamic interplay that shapes the individual's future well-being. And that would be all. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you find this video report presentation very helpful and clear. Goodbye.